The name of my story is Stone Soup. As it started, 3 soldiers were walking down the road singing their song. We are soldiers in the army. We have to fight, and though we have to die, we have to hold up the bloodstained banner. We have to hold it up until we die. Now, these 3 soldiers that were walking down the road they didn't just come from a physical war. They came from a community war. They needed to help the communities. Well, as they got to this village, they said, well, maybe we can get food, or maybe we can get some rest. But the thing that let them know that they had a battle there was that there was a sign, which is usually horizontal, was vertical. They knew the village had lost pride in themselves. Well, the soldiers went into the village, put their gear down, and the first one went to the left. He went to a house to get some food or something, and when he knocked on the door went down. And then these children said, "Leave us alone, we don't have anything." It was the only furniture that was there was that sofa they were hiding behind. Well, the soldier went back to the center of the town and told his friends all about it. He laid his extra gear down too. Now the second one went down Main Street, and when he went down there, he saw a church to the left and a school building to the right. Well, he went into the church, and as he opened the door, it fell. The stained glass windows weren't there, and there at the ceiling were birds just flying back and forth in and out of the window. He left there, went immediately to the school. It was empty. Nobody was there. The door fell off. There was no whiteboard or blackboard. There wasn't anything. He said, "We have a problem now." He went back to the center of the town and told his other friends. The third one went to the right. Well, he just walked down the road. But as he was walking down the road, the grass got higher and higher and higher and higher. Then he noticed there are some children here. But the children toys were all broken, and it was a mess all over the grass throughout the neighborhood. And you could see that the shades were torn and were not down appropriately. He went back and told his friends. Well, they knew what they had to do. They built a fire. Then they got a pot. They put a stone in there and connected a hose, emptied the water into the pot. Well, later, they started stirring it. Now, the kids in the neighborhood came and was so excited, and they said, "We're fixing stone soup." Well, they wanted to help, so the men told them to get potatoes and carrots and a bell pepper and everything they could think of to put in the soup. It wasn't long when they got back. They stirred it, and the parents came. Well, the parents, there were one on one side and one on the other. And they were noticing that there was this lady with this baby that was 1 month old. She shouted to the parent, "1 month old? You mean to tell me we haven't communicated in 9 months?" Then there was an older man walking, and he was dragging his leg and walking as if he was in pain. And somebody asked him, "When did that happen?" And he said, 5 months ago. I'm dragging my leg because I can't get adequate insurance. You mean to tell me we haven't talked in 5 months? So with that, they all started talking. Then the mayor of the town said, "Why don't we sit down and eat?" Young men, get tables and chairs. Young ladies, get cups, bowls, and spoons. Now these people sat down and they came to the conclusion that we need to say some kind of prayer for the food that has been brought to us. They sung something like, "Come by here, my Lord, come by here. Come by here, my Lord, come by here. Come by here, my Lord, come by here. Oh Lord, come by here." And with that, they began to eat. Now the mayor said, from now on, for the first 4 Mondays, let's meet. And we'll talk about the church. We'll talk about the school. We'll talk about insurance. We'll talk about getting housing for those who don't have. Well, one lady said with the baby, "Well, I can't get to the meeting. I have this baby." And then the other lady said, "I have a 16-year-old. She can babysit." Now, as this all went well, the men who were there as soldiers gathered their things, knowing that they had done well, and that community was what they wanted to see, that would be prosperous in months to come. They gathered their things and began going down the road for another war. We are soldiers in the army. We have to fight, though we have to die. We have to hold up the blood-stained banner. We have to hold it up until we die.
What is Black courage? That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. Black courage is knowledge and awareness that change will not come if we wait for other persons or other times. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change we seek. Courageous and brave men and women are born every day by the thousands. The decrease comes when we allow our fear to bury our courage. The young woman I'm about to tell you about today, Bree Newsom, you probably have never read about her, but her enormous acts of bravery are so inspiring, you need to know about her today. Bree Newsom was born in Charlotte, North Carolina in 1985. She describes herself as a free Black woman, an activist and a journalist. Activists, by the way, are those who do more than talk about a problem. They give action and their very lives if necessary. Bree and her other activist friends had been discussing and working toward achieving a fair and equitable society, but realized that the nomenclature, the monuments, and all the paraphernalia from the Confederacy that scattered our nation are barriers to us creating the fair and equitable society we all deserve. And so they decided that they would target the Confederate flag flying over the Capitol in North Carolina. If you're going to go, you might as well go for the jackpot. Don't waste time with pennies and nickels. Bree volunteered to be the Black woman that would climb the flagpole and remove the Confederate flag. She knew well the dangers that were associated, but she decided she would take that action. She trained for months with the Greenpeace volunteers who scaled trees to save them. Well, the first lesson they taught was, you must release fear. Fear is your enemy. Fear will prevent you from scaling with the sure-footedness. It will cause your hands to sweat and you will not achieve the grip and the position that you desire on the pole. You must rid yourself of fear and so completely envelop yourself in your purpose and your goal. Bree did not share this mission with her family or her friends. No one. This was between herself and the activists that she worked with. On the morning of June 27th, 2015, they drove before daybreak to Columbia, South Carolina. They drove all the way, hours, thinking and discussing and rediscerning their plan. Upon arrival, two of them, acting as joggers, jogged around casing and watching the movements of the state troopers to signal Bree and her partner when the time was right to begin their mission. Seeing the troopers turn their direction away from the flag and going toward the parking lot, they signaled, "It's time." Bree and her partner raced to the fence. He helped boost her over the fence, and she began the climb up a 30-foot flagpole until she reached the top. But just as she was about to reach for the first clip on the flag, the troopers noticed her. "Hey, you! What do you think you're doing? Get down from there. You're in a lot of trouble now. Get down. Take your hands off that flag." Bree calmly unclipped the first, the second, the third, until the flag was completely unfurled and folded under her arm. And then she turned her attention to the troopers on the ground. "You come against me in hatred, oppression, and violence. I come against you in the name of God. This flag comes down today." And she calmly retreated down the flagpole. Upon reaching the ground, the troopers grabbed the flag and placed she and her partner under arrest. With her hands handcuffed behind her, going to the squad car and to an unknown disposition, she recited the 23rd Psalm. "Yea, though I walk through the valley of darkness, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. You prepare a banquet before me in the sight of my foes. My head is anointed with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord." Before Bree's arrival at the police station, the flag was once again flying over the state capitol. But 2 weeks later, a Republican legislature and governor filed a law that would permanently remove the flag from the state capitol. Bree showed enormous bravery and courage. That same bravery and courage lives in all of us if we will allow it to come out. We must know that change will not come if we wait for some other person's or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We must be the change we seek.
Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, and the walls came tumbling down. Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, and the walls came tumbling down. It was in Alabama when the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King first met Mahalia Jackson. Now, he was her biggest fan. And before Dr. King was introduced at the meetings and rallies, Mahalia would go out and sing to the people. She would sing those soul-searching songs, get the people all fired up, ready to go. Fired up and ready to go. They traveled through the deep South. And sometimes when Dr. King needed inspiration, he would call her up on the phone and let her know while he was writing his sermons and his speeches. And she would sing songs to him like, "Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn." And then he would be inspired. He would be lifted up to write those sermons. In Detroit in 1963, he did a freedom march, led them right down Woodward Avenue to Cobo Hall. That's when he said the "I Have a Dream" speech. It was beautiful. No more than a few months later, in August, he was invited to the Capitol, Washington, D.C., at the Lincoln Memorial. And Dr. King was standing there, and he was adjusting some things to his notes. And he started talking about reparations and checks and balances. Mahalia Jackson was sitting out there, and she was thinking, how could she distract Dr. King? Because she had to make the decision, the critical decision, to interrupt him while he was speaking, because his speech had made a wrong turn. And she had to do something because she recollected the themes from his other speeches. That's when she stood up. "Martin, Martin, tell him about the dream. The dream, Martin. Tell him about the dream, Martin. Tell him about the dream." There was a hush through the multitude of people. Dr. King moved his notes to the side. He looked at her and he began his speech about "I Have a Dream." 250,000 people was in attendance. Black folks was everywhere. It was a sight to behold when Dr. King started his speech. "I have a dream this morning, a dream where we can all work together." He had a dream. And that's the way it was on that day. Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, and the walls came tumbling down. And the walls came tumbling down. Thank you.
The name of my story is The Bridge Builder. This young man had graduated from college. He came home and told his mom and dad that he wanted to help in the community. They were so glad because they had taught him well to be kind and gracious to other people. And they knew that in his school, they taught him to be competitive, have friends, and just study to be good. He was ready. So his mom said, you know, if you go down that road and cross the bridge, you will have all the people and ammunition that you would need to be a community leader. Well, the young man walked down the road. He got to the bridge, and what he saw were members of the Detroit Association of Black Storytellers. Oh, they told him about their ancestors, how he should know about those who are carrying the legacy within his family. He told him about nonfiction and fiction stories that could enhance his culture. He said, let me grab you on as I go across the bridge. The next group of people that he saw was some who were making signs with their hands and dancing with the sticks. They were dressed in the males with red, purple, black and gold, and the females red, pink and green, and royal blue and gold. They were fraternity brothers and sorority sisters, and they were just swaying and grabbed him and said, we are about helping the community. We transform people and the community. We are about support. He said, you can go across the bridge with me. They came next to a man who was carrying a sign that said, Toastmasters International. He said, you can do all that, but when I finish with you, you will know how to speak in front of a crowd of 3,000 or with one person. He continued with him. Then going across the bridge, there was these organized organizations: Southern Christian Leadership Council, National Action Network, Detroit Urban League, and an NAACP. He said, well, if I use these people, they're organized and they can take me to different places that I never will be able to go to. And they will be able to help people who need housing and food. Just like that Gleaner's truck over there. Come on with me. Now, there was a group he saw that were linked to the government. He saw Ms. Mary Sheffield. He saw Congresswoman Lawrence. He saw Congresswoman Tlaib. And then all of a sudden, coming into the crowd was President Obama. And with him, holding hands, was Michelle. And she said, when they are low, we go high. He said, I think this may be all I need. And by that time, they were at the end of the bridge. The young man was tired. The others were tired. And they all decided to get places to sleep. But while the young man was sleeping, he thought of John Conyers. He thought of Jesse Jackson, who said, keep hope alive. He thought of Martin Luther King Jr. And he said, I have a dream. Well, when he woke up from his dream, this young man was ready to go. And the whole group directed him around the corner. He said, well, I don't want to go alone. They said, people are waiting for you. They're waiting for your new ideas. The whole group walked back across the bridge. He said, you finished. Why are you walking across the bridge? They in unison said, we are bridge builders. Our responsibility is to make it easier for others to cross the bridge and keep the dream alive.
You need Black joy. I need black joy. We all need black joy. It is critical for our survival. We need black joy as we need the air we breathe. It is as healing as a mother's kiss. Black joy is so important. You can't buy it from Amazon. You can't borrow it from a friend. It has to come from within and grow there. I find my black joy in the arts. Specifically today, I find my joy in music. Music lifts our feet, moves our body, and fills our ears. Music, along with the words, are balm to our aching soul. Today, specifically, I have chosen Beyoncé. Beyoncé's latest single, which is a part of the soundtrack for King Richard, called Be Alive. This sound is a tribute to family, to racial pride, and to the enduring love of sisterhood. This song is so powerful. It feels so good being alive. Got all my family by my side. Couldn't wash this black off if I tried. That's why I lift my head with pride. This song is all about the Williams family and their struggle and commitment toward realizing their dream. But it could just as well have been about Beyoncé and her struggle in the music world. It could also be about every black girl. Their joined voices could be easily saying, black girl finds dream. Black girl embraces her dream. Black girl's dream is rejected by an unjust world. Fortified by the love of her family and the pride of her ebony hue, she rejects the rejection. Oh, black girl determined and working hard, continues to build her dream. Black girl crushes rejection as her dream takes flight. It might just as easily be, my brothers and sisters, black boy finds and embraces his dream. Black boy's dream is rejected by an unjust world. Fortified by the love of his family and pride in his ebony hue, he rejects the rejection. Building and continuing to work hard, and with the exhilaration, he finds the strength to crush the rejection as his dream takes flight. There are so many reasons to rejoice in this song. Finding a dream, the victory of finding a dream. The refusal to allow the world to crush that dream. The resilience of the black family in refusing to be crushed against the odds of this world. The exhilaration of being able to birth your dream despite all the odds. We need black joy. Black joy is our message across the world to our ancestors that we are yet holding on. We have not given up the good fight. Though we have often been denied and too often lost, we are still holding on. We continue to fight the good fight. We are the people they cannot kill. We still hold on to our black joy.
What is culture? One part of the definition for culture is the arts and other manifestations of human intellectual achievement regarded collectively. All the things that human beings have done and created, explored, understood, and defined. Another part of the definition is the customs, arts, social institutions, and achievement of a particular nation, people, or other social group. The ways we do what we do, the best examples of what we have done and are doing in our particular area, and even the ways we live and exist in society. Culture is big. People make culture what it is. The lives and legacies of many individuals have added a great deal to the culture of humanity. Today, we focus on one particular person, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The actions he took in his life, and especially during the Civil Rights Movement, can tell us why we celebrate his birthday today. While he led and participated in many actions, he also espoused or lifted up a concept, a dream for us to work toward, the beloved community. Let's break that down a bit. We already know that something that is loved or close to us is important to us is beloved. Our favorite people and things, beloved by us. What is community? It's defined as a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. It's who we live with and near and who lives around us. Often, we practice a pretty narrow definition of community. Our family or whoever we live with, share our home with. Our extended family, definitely our community. People who we worship with and consider our part of our community as well. We might even include our neighbors or our neighborhood, definitely our friends and perhaps even our work colleagues. These are all ways we can establish our community. Family, our address, the law, religion, where we work and play, how our community is defined. There are even organizations of people that join together to say we belong together to everyone else, a part of another community. Dr. King had a more expansive view of who is in our community. In his optimism for humankind, he desired for us to create and build together a beloved community. The term beloved community was coined in the early 20th century by the philosopher and theologian Josiah Wright, who founded the Fellowship of Reconciliation. Dr. King was a member of the Fellowship of Reconciliation and popularized the term and also gave it the deeper meaning we understand today. Dr. King understood a larger view of our human community and didn't envision this beloved community in the United States alone. As technology advanced and brought nations and people who were separated closer together, Dr. King understood that we live on one planet, and he said, "This is the great new problem of mankind. We have inherited a large house, a great world house, in which we have to live together. Black and white, Easterner and Westerner, Gentile and Jew, Catholic and Protestant, Muslim and Hindu, a family unduly separated in ideas, culture, and interests who, because we can never live apart again, must somehow learn to live in peace in this world house." Dr. King uses the explanation of the world house to explain our situation, and this was how Dr. King framed the situation for all of us. Not just people here in the United States, dealing largely with issues of blacks and whites getting along together where he began in the 1950s, but he extended this idea to all of humanity. During his lifetime, we became closer through telephones and other technology, just as during our lives, the world has become even closer through a further development of those technologies and even newer technologies today. Scientists and conservationists have told us for decades that the Earth is our only home and we share it with each other and every other life form on our planet. Since Earth is our only home, if we don't manage our resources well, we will lose what we have. Similarly, Dr. King understood that if we don't manage to live together with justice and peace for all people, we will not be able to guarantee justice or peace for any people. A look at the website for the Martin Luther King Jr. Center for Nonviolent Social Change will show you that Dr. King began to speak of the beloved community in 1956 as the end goal of nonviolent boycotts. He said in a speech following the announcement of the United States Supreme Court decision desegregating the buses on Montgomery, Alabama buses, "The end is reconciliation. The end is redemption. The end is the creation of the beloved community. It is this type of spirit and this type of love that can transform opponents into friends. It is this type of understanding goodwill that will transform the deep gloom of the old age into the exuberant gladness of the new age. It is this love which will bring about miracles in the hearts of men." He repeated this again in 1957 in The Role of the Church in Facing the Nation's Chief Moral Dilemmas, one of his sermons. The love that Dr. King was referring to here is agape love. In his writings, Dr. King describes 3 types of love. Eros, which is aesthetic or romantic love, where something you think is beautiful or where you fall in love with a person. Philia, which is a brotherly or friendship type of love, best friend forever. And agape, which is, he understood and described as understanding, redeeming goodwill for all. An overflowing love which is purely spontaneous, unmotivated, groundless, and creative. The love of God operating in the human heart. He said that agape doesn't begin by discriminating worthy and unworthy people. It begins by loving others for their sakes and makes no distinction between a friend and an enemy. It is directed towards both. Agape is the love seeking to preserve and create community. He said that this is the love that may well be the salvation of our civilization. The value at the core of Dr. King's beloved community is agape love. How do we establish this beloved community? How do we use this agape love? Dr. King gives us 6 principles of his philosophy of nonviolence and 6 steps of nonviolent social change. Principle 1, nonviolence is a way of life for courageous people. It is not a method for cowards. It is active, nonviolent resistance to evil. It is aggressive spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. Dr. King's sermon, Tough Mind and a Tender Heart, he describes visiting New York City and upon noticing that the elevator had no 13th floor, asked his elevator operator about it and was told that many people are afraid of the number 13, so buildings and elevators don't list number 13. And the people were happy with that. The 13th floor is still there, it just isn't written or posted, so the people were happy. And in the sermon, Dr. King said that soft-minded people will cooperate with their oppressor and not seek to end their oppression. And this is one way of dealing with race issues. He says, but we must not stop with the cultivation of a tough mind. The gospel also demands a tender heart. Tough-mindedness without tender-heartedness is cold and detached, leaving one's life in a perpetual winter devoid of the warmth of spring and the gentle heat of summer. What is more tragic than to see a person who has risen to the discipline and heights of tough-mindedness, but has at the same time sunk to the passionless depths of hard-heartedness? The hard-hearted person never truly loves. He engages in a crass utilitarianism where he values others mainly according to their usefulness to him. The hard-hearted person lacks the capacity for genuine compassion. He might give dollars to a worthwhile charity, but he gives not of the Spirit. Principle 2, nonviolence seeks to win friendship and understanding. The end result of nonviolence is redemption and reconciliation. The purpose of nonviolence is the creation of the beloved community. So rather than put up with the oppression or fight with violence against it, we can combine the tough-mindedness of a courageous person and the tenderness of one who seeks friendship towards solving these problems. Dr. King said, through nonviolent resistance, we shall be able to oppose the unjust system and at the same time love the perpetuators of the system. We must work passionately and unrelentingly for full stature as citizens, but may it never be said, my friends, that to gain it, we use the inferior methods of falsehood, malice, hate, and violence. The first two principles are straightforward and may not be difficult to embrace or incorporate into our lives. Principles 3 and 4 ask much more of us. Principle 3, nonviolence seeks to defeat injustice, not people. Nonviolence recognizes that evildoers are also victims and are not evil people. The nonviolent resistor seeks to defeat the evil, not people. Here, the phrase, hate the sin, love the sinner, makes a lot of sense. We want to stop the person from doing harmful things to others. We don't want to get rid of the people. Often, when a person is allowed to learn from and change their behavior, they can become one of the best teachers. Principle 4. Nonviolence holds that suffering for a just cause can educate and transform people and societies. Nonviolence accepts suffering without retaliation. Unearned suffering for a cause is redemptive and has tremendous educational and transforming possibilities. This principle is often the one that gives the most the problems. Many people can be brave and make friends and hate the sin and love the sinner, but when it comes to when harm is done to them, they want revenge. Suffering isn't the way for most. Dr. King wanted to use Christianity as a way to help society. And with his understanding of the faith, he says that Jesus provided the example, and Gandhi showed the way for modern men to use Jesus' example to change the world. Principle 5, nonviolence chooses love instead of hate. Nonviolence resists violence of the spirit as well as the body. Nonviolent love is spontaneous, unmotivated, unselfish, and creative. In his sermon, Loving Your Enemies, Dr. King illustrates how love grows love. Choosing to love a person in spite of their treatment of you can spark a change of consciousness. Loving someone, even when a person who is not your friend, will allow the door of friendship to be open instead of keeping an enemy. You can possibly gain a friend. An excellent true example of this is a recent film called Best of Enemies, where the story of civil rights activist Ann Atwater and a leader of the Ku Klux Klan, C.P. Ellis, deal with the issue of school integration in Durham, North Carolina, and began a working relationship that continues way after the issue of school was resolved at the school. Principle 6, nonviolence believes that the universe is on the side of justice. The nonviolent resistors have deep faith that justice will eventually win. Nonviolence believes that God is a God of justice. Dr. King said the arc of the universe bends towards justice. In his sermon, The Answer, Faith in the Future. This is a deep faith that must not waver. In addition to these principles, Dr. King outlines 6 steps that we should incorporate into our lives to help us live in a nonviolent way. Step 1, information gathering. To understand and articulate an issue, a problem or injustice facing a person or community or institution, you must do research. You must investigate and gather all vital information from all sides of the argument or issue so as to increase your understanding of the problem. You must become an expert on your opponent's position as well. Step 2, education. It is essential to inform others, including your opposition, about your issue. This minimizes misunderstandings and gains you support and sympathy. Step 3, personal commitment. Daily check and affirm your faith in the philosophy and methods of nonviolence. Eliminate hidden motives and prepare yourself to accept suffering, if necessary, in your work for justice. Step 4, negotiation. Using grace, humor, and intelligence, confront the other party with a list of injustices and a plan for addressing and resolving these injustices. Look for what is positive in every action and statement the opposition makes. Do not seek to humiliate the opponent, but to call forth the good in the opponent. Step 5, direct action. These are actions taken when the opponent is unwilling to enter into or remain in discussion or negotiation. These actions impose a creative tension into the conflict, supplying moral pressure on your opponent to work with you in resolving the injustice. Step 6, reconciliation. Nonviolence seeks friendship and understanding with the opponent. Nonviolence does not seek to defeat the opponent. Nonviolence is directed against evil systems, forces, and oppressive policies, unjust acts, but not against persons. Through reasoned compromise, both sides resolve the injustice with a plan of action. And each act of reconciliation is one step closer to the beloved community. Some say that nonviolence is simply a lack of violence. And while that is fine, it does not get to the point of what Dr. King had in mind. Many people scoffed then and still do at the possibility of such a utopia of a beloved community, saying it was naive to consider such an idea. But Dr. King was fervent in his convictions, and this idea was not begun by him, nor was it limited to him. From Mrs. Coretta Scott King. To me, she says, the beloved community is a realistic vision of an achievable society, one in which problems and conflict exist, but are resolved peacefully and without bitterness. In the beloved community, caring and compassion drive political actions that support the elimination of poverty and hunger and all forms of bigotry and violence. The beloved community is a state of heart and mind, a spirit of hope and goodwill that transcends all boundaries and barriers and embraces all creations. At its core, the beloved community is an engine of reconciliation. This way of living seems a long way from the kind of world we have now, but I believe it is a goal that can be accomplished through courage and determination, and through education and training if enough people are willing to make the necessary commitment. In his 1959 sermon on Gandhi, Dr. King elaborated on the after effects of choosing nonviolence over violence. The aftermath of violence, of nonviolence, he says, is the creation of the beloved community, so that when the battle's over, a new relationship comes into being between the oppressed and the oppressor. In the same sermon, he contrasted violent versus nonviolent resistance to the oppression. The way of acquiescence leads to moral and spiritual suicide. The way of violence leads to bitterness in the survivors and brutality in the destroyers. But the way of nonviolence leads to redemption and the creation of this beloved community. Love is creative and redemptive. Love builds up and unites. Hate tears down and destroys. The aftermath of the fight with fire method, which you suggest is bitterness and chaos. The aftermath of love method is reconciliation and creation of a beloved community. Physical force can repress, restrain, coerce, destroy, but it cannot create and organize anything permanent. Only love can do that. Yes, love, which means understanding, creative, redemptive goodwill, even for one's enemies, is the solution to the race problem. Martin Luther King Jr. in 1957 said this: the beloved community is possible and worth protecting.
Greetings and welcome to the Charles H. Wright Museum's MLK Day celebration. My name is Ben Will, and I'll be performing my song, Blade of Grass. It's like a blade of grass dancing in the wind. It's like a rainbow lasting till 10 p.m. It's like a kiss blown by the sun. It's like a cool drink of water on your tongue. It's like a blade of grass dancing in the wind. I've got a feeling of joy inside of me. It's way down deep, and when it starts moving around, there's such a power, a shift, a lift I feel you cannot steal, because it's mine. It was given to me. Influential, unconditional, follows me wherever I go. It's like a blade of grass dancing in the wind. It's like a rainbow lasting till 10 p.m. It's like a kiss blown by the sun. It's like a cool drink of water on your tongue. Dancing in the wind. There's so much shame and pain, darkness, doom and gloom. You would assume that we would be forever broken and down. But there is an energy inside, and we can be forever free and never bound by the conditions of doubt. It's powerful, essential. If you know, then you know. It's like a blade of grass dancing in the wind. It's like a rainbow lasting till 10 p.m. It's like a kiss blown by the sun. It's like a cool drink of water on your tongue. It's like a blade of grass dancing in the wind. Y'all should know the song by now. It's like a blade of grass dancing in the wind. I hear you, come on. It's like a rainbow lasting till 10 p.m. It's like a kiss blown by the sun. It's like a cool drink of water on your tongue. It's like a blade of grass dancing in the wind. This song is about utilizing joy as a tool for resistance and resilience. We have to choose joy every single day. Don't ever forget the power that you have inside of yourself. It's like a blade of grass dancing in the wind. It's like a rainbow lasting till 10 p.m. It's like a blade of grass dancing in the wind.
Hi, y'all. Welcome to the Charles H. Wright Museum. My name is Xavier Jack, and today I'm going to be performing a few songs for y'all. Hope y'all enjoy. Yo, 1, 2. Let's go. Yeah, they told me that rap is old news. Well, I guess that means that I'm old school, cause I ain't never quitting. Music is in my soul, dude. Spoon feeding your brain soul food, and you can never get enough. Things are looking bright for the future. Marching forward, man, I'm always a trooper. Marching forward like the new Martin Luther. The nation thinks that I'ma just be a shooter, and that's correct, cause I shoot for the stars. Every time I hop in the booth, I'm never alone. Got people with hands on my back, they keeping me strong. They pushing me forward, now I'm in my zone. The limits I set for myself before I truly gone. Keep waiting with new day, moving, we moving on. Right until the craft's perfected. Adversaries never bother me, cause I'm always protected, glowing under the sun. And I'm going for number one, like with that world, here I come. I'm hitting the ground running, yeah. Yo, check it, I'm hitting the ground running, yeah. Check it out, I'm hitting the ground running, yeah. Yo, and I'm stunning, yeah. Boy, I'm stunning. Check it. From the abyss I rose, still keep my 10 toes down. And I have zero foes, just love when I'm in town. Young and inspired, never get tired. Trying to get higher, never perspire. Kill it, no sweat, no stress. But I know dudes who never say the same. The struggles of human beings go on from day to day. I'm thinking college, some of my homies got bills to pay. Found out my homie 18 with a baby on the way. Life happens, just play the best with what you got. I did that a few times, it got me out the spot I was in. I had to get out, was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Nearly missed my chance, did that a lot. Which was for us was difficult with these distractions. Playing poker with my life, I never fold though, don't need no poker face. I wear a big smile, no faking. Play my cards right and rate the cake in. Here I come, yeah, yo, I tell her what I say, here I come. Yeah, check it out, tell her what I say, here I come. Yeah, hold up, tell her what I say, here I come. Check it, wait, hold up. I love everybody unconditionally, but I'm always there if you need a shoulder. But when it comes to rapping, see, this my passion, yo. And if you in my way, I'm running you over with zero hesitation. Victory is mine, you better keep up if you wanna share with me. If we are making, well, that's fantastic. But if you put me on your song, I'm going off, and when my disc drops, yours goes in the casket. Peep my explanation. I'm going for mine, simply put. Survive the eruption, I'll be dead in the sun. Like faulty why I'm setting the game on fire, kill anything on my path. I'm burning up every nook and cranny. King of the building, I like my royal status is handy. The jack of all trades and ace of all spades, and cold-blooded with a pen, not even a thumbs up, cause the punch is always better with a thumb tucked. Here I come. Yeah, yo, I tell her what I said, here I come. Yo, I tell her what I said, here I come. La da 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 dee da 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 da. Here I come. La da 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 dee da 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 da. Here I come. Yeah. Tell her what I said, here I come. Yo, I said, here I come. Yeah, look at me now. Wait, I'm like, wow. Like, yeah, Get it. Scar on my head burning, so I know something's coming. Might as well just stand here and face it. Ain't no reason for running, whether a blessing or a curse. Let me just make it abundantly clear. Like Link, I always make it out of the dungeon. Don't care if gaining and demising my way. I'm masterful with the master sword, the triforce to make sure I'm okay. I got wisdom, power, and courage, and it grow as quickly as me. I'm the beam of light through the shade when your morning is great. A torch in your cave and candles all on your cake. You know I light it up and find in the stars, and that just means I ain't bright enough. I just write these bars, just getting things off my mind and stuff. I don't care about your cars or your lavish life. I just might erupt, complicated like Rubik's Cube, smoother than loop. You new to this, too cool to fool, dude. Who schools I'm cool to this? The underdog who's under the dog pile, eating through barriers to bury rappers like victims of Vesuvius. Dig it, tell them all about it. Tell them all about your story. Yeah, tell them about when life was dark. Tell them about when it tore you apart. Hey, tell them how you found it. Tell them how you found victory. Yeah, and in the midst of the pain and the strain, everything you arrange, you remain yourself. I tiptoe on hot coals, fight back till I reach my goals. My heart young, so I won't get old. I just remember that my body's worthless, can't put price on soul. I stuck with that, and I never was cold. And now you're flying so high, in the sky, look, cause you already a star. Look. So what you gotta do is I'm the flickering flame that's fixed in your fireplace. I've been through hell, met the devil, I know how fire tastes. And all these demons just play with the kid while I'm trying to become a phenom. I'm working from home. My dad wants me working on 3 songs. My mom always saying, find something bigger to speak on. My mom always say, I was what can I sing on? I want an empire, little something to get my feet on. Dear dubs, dodge L's, cause I ain't trying to get my meek on. Okay, let me take a seat. Some couldn't comprehend if they had me on repeat. And that's okay, because we know that we fly before we leap. This a word to all people, you should laugh before you tweet. Laugh a lot, live life, and you never getting younger. Work towards your dreams and dream even bigger when you slumber. Sometimes I wonder about the day that I go under, but until then I'm the lights and the noise, I'm lightning and thunder digging. Tell them all about it. Tell them all about your story. Yeah, tell them about when life was dark. Tell them about when it tore you apart. And tell them how you found it. Tell them how you found victory. Yeah. And in the midst of the pain and the strain, everything rearranged. Wait, hold up. I tiptoe on hot coals, fight back till I reach my goals. My heart young, so I won't get old. I just remember that my body's worthless, can't put price on soul. I stuck with that, and I never was cold. And now I'm flying so high. Yeah, in the sky. Wait, cause you already a star. Check it. So all you gotta do is shine. Listen close, I live in smoke. I never fear that I will choke, cause I got hocus pocus. Can't touch this, not even poke this. The dope is coldest. A poet, your boast is as tough as toes as King Rose. Appears the most of viscosity is the lowest. With lyrics, I'm river flowing. I spit it backwards when you're in now. My bars are potent, the motor, boat of the ocean. I'm raw. Without a Trojan, you're dark. You lack devotion, I'm all. And for the motion so far, I lack opponents, my guard. I'm just the Owens come first. I wear the bow and arrows. Will never go in my skin, cause I control if I'm hurt. I never show, I stand up and keep it rolling. My dough ain't most important, but still, I need my courses. I'm hot, no, I'm explosive. You should already notice my head is on my shoulders. I spread the word like Moses. I'm cool. I'm never bold, cause I chill and sit in lotus. No beef, not an iota. Wise up, I'm on my Yoda. I'm giving my city hope, and now that's a reason to gloat and try vandalizing my throat. Well, too late, I've already spoken. Try aiming it at my back. I got people behind my throat, and I'm going in for my town. I ain't joking, no average blow. The people, they need to see this conceited, not in the least, and all evils are in the feeble. A preacher up on the beat so complete that I can't wait. Either the people made me a leader, a piece of more, but at least to come see this fly creature. Yeah. And we vibe out. Yeah, just like, yeah, I said it's just like that, yeah. Shout out to Aunt Filler on them keys one time. Zed Bias, I see you out there, boy. Shout out to Charles H. Wright Museum putting me on to this MLK Day. We love to see it. Yeah, yo, we gonna protect that dream he had. And we gonna manifest it right here in real time. And you'll find that we shine on. Yo, tell them all about it. Tell them all about your story. Tell them about when life was dark. Tell them about when it tore you apart. And tell them how you found it. Tell them how you found victory. And in the midst of the strain and the pain, everything rearrange, you remain yourself. I tiptoe on hot coals, fight back till I reach my goals. My heart young, I won't get old. I just remember that my body's worthless, can't put price on soul. I stuck with that and I never was cold. And now you're flying so high in the sky, cause I'm already a star. So what I gotta do? So all you gotta do is shine on. Yo, got the heart and strength of a Tupac, the brain and soul of a Marley. I'm in danger in the streets, I need the government to guard me. But they're the ones that's hunting me down. How I'm supposed to feel safe when they can jump on me now? These fake blue bloods are everywhere. Black men is surely not meant to keep alive. How else do you explain a life expectancy at 25? Plenty die trying to survive in this America where the minorities left in the sun to fry. But not me, I'm not a slave. I can't be bought or caught. See, you forgot starting war is costly. You can't exhaust me. This flame's eternally lit like the Olympic torture revolution. There's no way you can stop me. Blues and bloods, please put down your scarves and listen out the purple royals we are. And to those who think I'll die at 25 and I won't live to see after, I'll see you in the 26th chapter. Fall of the slave master, raising the young kings up, leaving beats in his ass to kill any rapper you bring up. Gotta be moving faster. This unity ain't a thing, bro. Instead of ringing a blast, why don't we all just sing love one? It's one love, you know it. It's one love, right? It's one love, you know it. It's one love, it's one love, you know it. It's one love. That's the only way we'll ever get above. Young king, I ain't nothing but a young king. Nowadays, brothers only chasing after one thing, money. One thing I know, we always stunting, but I'm just trying to keep the peace. It's that dumb cream. Yeah, that's what I do. I got the rhythms that be making everybody get to move in their shoe. And you think I'm a fool? That's cool, my dude. Now watch me come through with the hottest lyrics ever since Pac and Biggie was new. Ooh, check it. People stunting with their diamond rings and designer things. Me, I'm living on the finer things. Y'all got minor wings, but I spread mine. It's not a thing. Guess that you could say I'm living on the fly side of things. You can fly high as well. Everyone got the picture too far as I can tell. And for inspiration, here's my dissertation. Be very patient, work hard when you make it. Congratulations, the fall of the slave master, raising the young kings up, leaving beasts in his ass to kill any rapper you bring up. Gotta be moving faster, this unity ain't a thing, bro. Instead of ringing a blaster, why do we all just sing love? Just sing love. One, it's one love, you know it. It's one love. It's one love, you know it. It's one love, right? It's one love, you know it. It's one love. That's the only way we'll ever get above. Look, people see me in the streets and ask, Avi boy, how you living? I'm living lovely, but I'm trying to elevate my position. Chances are never given. Gotta take them, don't waste them. I'm breaking into the game with intensity. My decision is to take over it all by force. I'm learning that nobody else can walk my course. I'm riding in the battle, you can't knock me off my horse. I'm pulling lyrics and feelings directly from my source. That's my divinity, pushing my limits to the extremities. And even though I wear glasses, third eye sees 20/20. Hold up, cause dog, I seen it. Dudes with guns looking in my window, I seen it. People trying to rob my dad and kinfolk, believe it, achieving one verse at a time. And you can tell the game that I'm creeping up from behind. Got a state of mind that you can tell. Man, I'm divine, I'm one of a kind. Yeah, also I'm fall of the slave master, raising the young kings up, leaving beats in his ass to kill any rap you bring up. Gotta be moving faster, this unity anything, bruh. Instead of ringing the blaster, why don't we all sing love? Sing love. One, it's one love, you know it. It's one love. It's one love, you know it. It's one love, right? It's one love, you know it. It's one love. That's the only way we'll ever get above. One love, hey. And put it up in the air, one love, one love, one love. Yeah, I put it up in the air, one love. It's one love, one love.
Welcome back to our final segment of the day. I think we can go ahead and drop these off now. Oh, feels good. And we wanted to just wrap up the day with talking about the final close of our theme, protecting the dream. So I have with me, of course, my colleague and friend, the ever awesome and amazing manager of community engagement, Ms. Yolanda Jack.
Jonathan, thank you.
That's how we do it. So we've been talking throughout this day about this main theme: protect the history, protect the culture, protect the dream, right? We had amazing words from Ambassador Young earlier with a wonderful intro from Reverend Hood. We've seen some amazing poetry. We have heard some amazing songs. We've heard some amazing stories.
We've had a good day.
We've had a really good day. And we also had an opportunity to really start to deconstruct the theme of the day. We started with the protecting of the history.
Thank you for that.
I do my best. But we got really deep into protecting culture and community and what Dr. King's thoughts and ideas were about the beloved community. Thank you for that. But now we're talking about the dream. And whenever somebody talks about the dream, Dr. King usually pops in your head and you're usually thinking what?
I have a dream.
I have a dream.
Right there every time. It's so easy.
Every single time.
It's easy.
But we often lose some of the context of where that originated from, right? We also look at August 28th, 1963,
Very
March
important.
on Washington,
D.C.
Let's go.
Largest.
But what was the, but that wasn't the first time, right?
No, that wasn't the first time he mentioned those ideas in his speeches, sermons. I mean, he was a minister, so sermons sometimes get used again. But I think that this was one of the days where it was cemented into the consciousness of the United States of America, really the world probably, and really came home to us what he was thinking about extending out beyond, not just for himself and his immediate family and children, but the idea of what United States could be about, the world could be about. I think that's where he was going.
And there was a lot of context in that speech. I mean, when we talk about the I Have a Dream speech, like everybody's like, the I Have a Dream speech.
Right.
We quote probably one segment.
I dreamed that my children, my 4 little children, could play with their counterparts without being judged, without being looked at. I wish I had the quote, right? But we know that's where he was coming from. But there's so much more in terms of the economics of the United States, in terms of policy, in terms of, it was the Poor People's Campaign, the Beloved Community, all of these things were kind of critical mass coming together at that point, and it became an understanding of how we could, just be on a society level, a human global level.
I love that. So when we think about what the dream means, putting all of that into context, when we're talking about the Beloved Community, when we're talking about the Poor People's Campaign, when we're talking about desegregation, when we're talking about equality, when we're talking about equity, what does that context mean in 2022 when we talk about the dream? Or even, should we still hold on to the idea of the dream?
Oh, for me, absolutely. Listening to what Ambassador Young says, it's not a dream that one person had. Just like when I spoke about how the idea of the beloved community didn't come from Dr. King. The words came from another individual, but he kind of encapsulated and moved it forward. And so for us, I think in this way, in terms of articulating a specific type of dream or what could be from one individual's point of view. And so he really, I think, gave it to us. It wasn't, this is my dream. This is I think a thought. And if you are with me, if we're all together, then let's make it happen. Let's join hands. Let's be together. This is where the singing of We Shall Overcome. This is where the marching, they literally walked arm in arm with each other sometimes to prevent someone breaking their ranks or trying to come and separate them. So I think that this was given to us as an opportunity to understand this is something that I hope for. And the same way that I have given dreams of my own, what I want for my children, the things that we saw in our childhood, oh man, if we could do this differently, or when I grow up, what I'm gonna do kind of thing. Well, this is, I think, how maybe we can take ownership of what Dr. King laid out back in the 60s to really understand that it wasn't just Dr. King, but we're talking about him today, but understanding that all of these men and women who were marching, who were thinking, who were working and praying, cooking dinners, people living in your homes, on pallets on the floor, just taking risks at a time when you really could lose your life, trying to be united with humanity, trying to unite people who supposedly were different from you, but as time has gone by, and happily, we've begun to break a lot of those barriers down since the 60s. There is a lot more unity in our community. There's a lot more people of different ethnicities working together for one common purpose, rather than, white people have their unity in their group and black people have their unity in their group. We're understanding that we're a human population on this one planet. And so hopefully that, for me at least, what I'm coming to understand in terms of protecting the dream, it really does need to be seated in understanding that we own it. It's not something that's outside of us. It really does come from within us. It does need us to take responsibility for it. That if we intend to live, what is it that Gandhi said or has been repeated, be the change you want to see in the world. Who said that? I don't know. Was it Buddha? I don't know. But nevertheless.
Somebody wise.
Somebody wise. And it's been repeated, so it means something enough to people to say it again. And so we should be what we want to see. And people are beginning, I think, minute by minute, day by day. And as the pandemic, especially over these past 2 years, have really impacted us so horribly, intention becomes different when you realize that you don't always control. You can't. We see the shortness of life, the ability to be here, and then within a minute or weeks or just a few short seconds, the person that you were depending upon is no longer here with you. So how do you galvanize from there? And Dr. King was taken from us in such a horrible way, and would have lived to be 93 years old. But the bullet silenced his voice, but didn't silence the ideals. It didn't silence what he was speaking about. The bullet stopped his physical form, but it didn't allow us to die with it. I think in many cases, if we see the example given by Mrs. King, immediately 4 days after he was assassinated, she returned. She went to Memphis to do what her husband would have done had he been alive. And then within the same year of being assassinated, she founded a foundation that would hold his memory and his words in a way that he could speak for himself from his own writings, from his books, from his sermons. And I think when I was at the King Center, I learned in a way that I hadn't seen before. But in 1968, when Dr. King was assassinated, a lot of people hated him. And being born at a time when Dr. King was already a hero in my lifetime, I couldn't conceive of a time when Dr. King was hated. Like, I know that he was killed and I know that, but I didn't understand that the society, you know, that was divided at that time. There were people who were like, yeah. And then there were people who were like, so many people that I know, my family and my community, who were horror-stricken and grief-stricken at the assassination. So I think that knowing the history and being here to learn the history and to understand it and to chew on it and to really work with it and understand where it came from, where we came from. The concept of Sankofa, when you know where you come from, it gives you a chance to understand what's happening now. So now, like you said, we can choose what we want to build on or what we want to take out of our society. What has helped us? What has harmed us? And we, the beloved community, can determine for ourselves. And I love that, that Dr. King was inspired by people from across the world, people from, from his studies as a student in philosophy, the writers that he read, and Gandhi and individuals here in the United States and people in his family. And he took all of that and assimilated in such a way that he then gave us this beautiful, powerful idea that it's been decades since he was assassinated and we're still working with it. I don't know how else, how else we can say thank you. I don't know how else I don't know another way that we can acknowledge but to try our best to acknowledge it and exemplify what he wanted. Reading his words has deepened again in me my need to make sure that my vocabulary is big, right? What words am I using? How am I speaking? His ability to use language and paint a picture and describe in a high level, but also to people who maybe never learned how to read, the emotional, the feeling of where I'm coming from. So you may not understand scintillating beauty, but you know that means something that I want to see what is that? What is scintillating? How does that make beauty more beautiful? Why, so I love that.
Gets to the core of the person.
Yeah, and so I think
as opposed to the ephemeral.
Yeah, and he was able to really encapsulate a time at a time, and I suppose that he was placed there for that time because we haven't had a time like that since, in a way that it was like then. And it had not been like that up until then. So, we're placed where we're supposed to be for a reason. And I'm so glad that I'm here with you now. And I'm so glad that we're able to really have a chance to think about how we can take moving forward into the second decade of the 2000s. How do we turn forward and look at the future? And as we did when I was in a childhood, 1970s and 1980s, looking back at the 1918s and 1920s, like, oh wow, they were, I don't want the children of 2040 or 2070 or 2090 looking at us as if we were backwards or confused and utterly wrong, that we were getting it together and protecting what needed to be protected in terms of how we can keep our humanity together. That's what I hope for.
See, I absolutely love that. Like that, I absolutely love that. And I'm gonna tell you why. Some of the things that you were saying, and the way that you espoused about Dr. King and his legacy and his life and his dream, something that in my own studies, in my own life, that I've come to the conclusion of is that I love a good dream. And when you have a good dream, you definitely want to share it with the people.
Absolutely.
But it takes a different type of expressionism to really make a dream manifest. And so when we're talking about protecting the dream, yeah, we're protecting this idea that popped up. But there's so much more to that idea than just dwelling within the soul and the body of one individual. And we've started to see that it is becoming more expansive. And so it's not that it's just a dream anymore. So we're not just protecting the dream, we're protecting the vision. Because it's the actualization of the dream that we're starting to see manifest. And we see plenty of opposition to it all the time. There's a reason that we are still seeing protests in the streets. There's a reason why organizations like Black Lives Matter had to manifest. We're not seeing people completely on board with that vision.
Right.
Just yet.
Not completely.
But we are seeing so many more coming to a realization for themselves that this isn't honor this man, it is honor this idea. Because this idea is not just for this man or this man's family or this man's friends. This idea isn't even just for this man's race or this man's culture. This idea is for everybody. And when you come to that realization, it's kind of like when we talk about history. When we say, hey, Black history. No, history. You don't get history without the Black part. You don't get history without the Asian part. You don't get history without the white part. You don't get history without all the pieces that make the history.
Because
you don't
here.
get the vision without all the pieces that create that vision.
That's right.
So when he said, I dreamed that my daughters are playing with their contemporaries and there's no separation and segregation, what he's speaking about is, this is for me and you and you and you and you. It's for all of us. And that concept is mind-blowing, that it can not only carry on, but build, because he created such a strong foundation for it. And when I think about that march in Washington, and he's up there, and you've got so many people that were actually on that day that were speaking on that day. And he had a whole other concept of what he wanted to talk about when he started off. And then, of course, as we heard in the story earlier today, Mahalia Jackson, like, hey, tell them about their dream, Martin. Hey, Martin.
I want to hear that again.
I want to hear that again.
Because that sparked me.
Because it sparked something in him, it sparked something in her, it sparked something in everybody on that day, it sparked something in everybody at that reflecting pool, and it's still sparking something in people almost 60 years later.
Wow. Wow. Can you imagine?
Mind-blowing, right? Mind-blowing. We're like, who remembers a dream? Like, I can remember my dream from last night.
Well, I have some dreams that I remember from childhood, but those dreams didn't spark other members of my family. That's important to me. This is what Dr. King was talking about, what he gave us. And even on that day in August of 1963, he was talking then about giving us lines or tools to begin to create the beloved community. Fair pay for everybody. Because in the beloved community, the policies will be such that no one is poor. You have access to what you need to live a life. There's a stopgap that no one is going to be below. That is not doing violence by denying people, that we will resolve issues without war. He was not for the Vietnam War. He was vehemently against it. So he was saying then, even then, these are the things that we can do today that will help march us towards or help bring us towards or help us to arrive in the beloved community. So I think that, and what you were saying before in terms of just how we're the ones. And we can be able to take this onus and responsibility, but also dream it. We can join in. Ambassador Young says that we're living in the midst of Dr. King's dream, and it's true. But we're not quite there yet, which is why Black Lives Matter had to manifest. You didn't need Black Lives Matter in 1950. We just had to first of all get to the point where we weren't being physically attacked. Can we literally just march?
Or I would even say, what we see in the modern times with things like Black Lives Matter is a continuation. There was the initiation of We Matter with those protests.
Right.
Just let me drink out of this water fountain. Just
Oh my
let me
gosh.
use this bathroom.
Oh my
Just let me
gosh.
sit in this seat in this restaurant. Just
Yes.
let me eat the food at the counter. Just let me.
Yeah. And we've
And-
gotten that.
And we got that.
Yeah.
But occasionally, because we get complacent,
Yeah.
you got to be reminded.
You gotta.
We're gonna bring it back
Yeah.
and just. We're not telling you that they didn't stop mattering. We're just reminding you that they still do.
Yeah. Those principles are those steps. What is it? Step 3, you gotta recommit every day. You know, I mean, not that I know them like that, I don't, but I was just saying, you know, when you read something and when you work with something, it places it and it plants a seed. It certainly has planted a seed for me in thinking about what daily steps can I do to just reaffirm like the principles of Kwanzaa, these principles of nonviolence. When you belong to a religion, these are the tenets that often belong in how you relate to your community and how you comport yourself in those places. But I think that whether you belong to this religion, that religion, or no religion, you have an opportunity through these principles, through these things, these tools that have been given to us from these visionary people, Dr. King being among them, to say, hey guys, we have decisions that we need to make for how we want to live on this planet. And if you want to have a whole bunch of chaos and a whole bunch of drama and people and suffering and all of this kind of horror, then keep doing what you're doing, because we got that. But if you don't like that so much and would prefer to see where people find this, what in my childhood was called utopia, but in certain communities you find people, in certain places in your house you find peace, because you have rules and we agree, we coordinate, we work together.
What they call my safe place.
Yes.
Right.
And then you grow that out enough, those eventually
Invite people in
and
to the
we
safe
work
space
with
and we make
and
it.
we share the rules and we share the values and we share we agree, we're unity and we're in unity, united in mind. I think that's, these are the ways, but hopefully we'll be able to see more and more people agree to this kind of idea of living.
I think it's a matter of relatability. When you were talking about that third principle, that recommitting daily, it always feels so grand to so many people. But if you think about it, we recommit daily to everything that we do daily. Every day you wake up and you brush your teeth, you are recommitting to brushing your teeth every day.
Hygiene.
You are recommitting to going to your job or going to school every day. Every day you're making a choice to recommit to these things that you have already said matter in my life.
So you're saying I shouldn't feel like it's too big for me to recommit to this every single
Because you
day.
do something like that every single day.
So
we are always recommitting. Think about on a grander scale, but people don't think of it as the grand scale. Relationships. Your familiar relationships, your romantic relationships. Think about a marriage. You recommit to that marriage every single day.
Every hour sometimes. No.
Every hour,
But I mean,
every
but
day,
you're right.
every minute.
Yes, it's
like,
true.
I have to continuously choose you every day.
So choose nonviolence.
Choose nonviolence
Choose-
every day. And what do we know about relationships that work? They take
Commitment.
work.
That's
They
right.
take commitment.
That's right.
And they are not always easy. It is not always nice. It is not always pleasant. It is sometimes a knockdown, drag out. I gotta expose and be raw
But
for
we
the
come back.
betterment
But we come back.
of this commitment.
So it's the reconciliation
Exactly.
at the end. So even through the process, we still go back to that reconciliation.
And so if we can do that in our daily lives on things that we don't think are as grand as the dream, the vision of Dr. King, if we can do that with the little things, then we can do that, because we're doing it with multiple little things. So we can do that collectively on the big things. And as you said earlier, you know, they were walking arm in arm, they were singing the songs together, they were marching together, they were united. There's that old African proverb, right? It's easier to break one twig than a bundle, right? It's easier to commit to something when you're not committing alone.
And when you know you have people to recommit with you.
I am here with you.
Every day.
I am sharpening your iron.
That's right.
Let's go.
Let's
I'm
do
gonna
this.
pick you up. I'm gonna carry you. You
Hey.
can carry me.
That's right.
And together, we're gonna make it.
That's right.
We're making it across that bridge. We're making it down that street. We're making it to that reflecting pool. We're making it to Cobo Hall. We're making it together.
Right. As another proverb, if you want to travel fast, travel alone. If you want to travel far, travel together. So I think we have an understanding. What do you think? How can we protect the dream? What do you want to do? How does it feel to you to protect the dream in your house, in your family, in your life?
What are
can
some
you
of those
do?
steps
Yeah.
that you could take right now?
That's right.
This day, this day of action,
That's
this
right.
day that's on.
Not off.
Not off, on.
That's right.
On this day, what are some of the very simple, subtle things? As simple as say hello, smile,
Even with
greet.
your mask on. We
Even
can
with
see
your mask
it.
on.
We can see it under
we
the
said eyes
mask.
glow. Socially distant, respecting people's space.
In this pandemic, that's right.
We are in a pandemic. Something very simple that you can do. Put your mask on.
Well, I think we talked about protecting the dream. Now we got to go do it.
Now we got to go do it. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you so much for being a part of this wonderful celebration. And don't let it stop here.
Come
From
back
all
to
of
the
us
museum.
here at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History, we wish you love, we wish you peace, we wish you life.
Protect the history, protect the culture,
Protect the
the
dream.
dream.